Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have some real news here. The Obamacare repeal. What are the Republicans really up to, ladies and gentlemen? We have our good buddy Daniel Horowitz of Conservative Review, one of the smartest young conservatives in America right now. He's looked at this. Daniel Horowitz, what have you found?
Hey, it's great to be with you, Mark. I'm telling you, things in politics are never as they appear. And the same thing applies here with Obamacare. They are indeed not repealing Obamacare unless they hear from the grassroots. The bill that I'm looking at, the plan that I'm hearing, they plan on repealing the funding mechanism. In other words, the tax increases, the subsidies, the requirement to purchase insurance. But the heart and soul of what Obamacare is, and those are the regulatory mandates, the insurance coverage mandates, that they have to cover everything under the sun. All the things that make insurance actuarially insolvent and have caused premiums to spike to an unprecedented level, they will remain in place. That's number one. Number two, even as it relates to the taxes and some of the spending, this bill retains what's called a reserve fund to capture some of that savings instead of using it to reduce the deficit. What does that mean? That the replacement plan that they're cooking up will be just as expensive as Obamacare itself, and they're going to need to use and retain some of that tax revenue. So in other words, they're not really repealing the heart and soul of Obamacare, and they plan to repeal it with Obamacare Light.
So they're going to basically play around the edges, maybe one or two areas, beat their chests about how they've beaten this back, but they're embracing the ideology and the core of Obamacare, claiming that they're repealing it, and so what they're really going to put in place is Obamacare Light. Is that your point?
Exactly. The ideology, as you said, behind Obamacare is the pursuit of universal coverage at the expense of reducing prices and costs in the free market. And when you pursue universal coverage at the expense of cutting costs, you get neither. That's what we're seeing with, I'm practically paying another mortgage for my private health insurance every month. So when they talk about repealing Obamacare, they are maintaining the regulations that have caused premiums to spike to $1,000, $1,200, $1,300 a month.
Isn't it also true that this is so complicated, the original law, and here they're tinkering with this, that really, for most Americans, they can't get their heads around this? So the Republicans understand this. So what they'll do is get up and talk about all these great things that they've done and undone, and when in fact what you're saying is, to the great extent, we're going to be running in place.
Exactly. This is the problem, and it's a problem with the media as well. They don't know what Obamacare is. It's kind of like Bill Clinton. It's all about what the definition of is. So when they say they're repealing it, the individual mandate, again, the requirement to purchase insurance, that is not what is causing premiums to go haywire. It's unconstitutional. It's kind of tyrannical to force people to buy a private product, but as a matter of policy, that's not the main problem. The problem is when you say you have to cover people after they're already sick. That's called guaranteed issue. So when people get up there and say, well, I'm going to repeal Obamacare, but I like the pre-existing condition mandate, the guaranteed issue, well, you're essentially saying you will never reduce costs.
And you're still mandating to insurance companies this whole panoply, this long list of things they have to cover.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everyone needs maternity, OBGYN coverage and everything. And this is what's made it unsustainable. It's also community rating, many other different regulations, thousands of pages of regulations. And like I said, now, even as it relates to the tax increases, the so-called Cadillac tax on the high-end insurance plans, they are talking about leaving that in place in order that they'll have enough revenue to cover these massive refundable tax credits that they plan to give out. And remember, Donald Trump ran on expanding HSAs, getting rid of regulations. He did not run on this whole, massive refundable tax credit regime, and certainly not on keeping and maintaining the main parts of Obamacare.
Yes, but when this came up this weekend, or maybe it was yesterday, Kellyanne Conway said, and I paraphrased, well, Donald Trump always said he was going to keep the best features of Obamacare. Isn't this the squishy area we always get caught in? We could wind up having Republican control of the federal government, another $1 trillion in infrastructure spending, and if Schumer has his way, it'll be $1.5 trillion. We could wind up with Obamacare light. We could wind up with things like this. In other words, they keep talking about the most conservative agenda ever and on and on and on and be disappointed yet again.
Absolutely. A lot of the other stuff is still up in the air, but this Obamacare thing is baked unless they hear from the grassroots that they understand what they mean by repeal Obamacare. Let me say this. It's very possible that you could have adverse selection where prices actually go up because they're going to cut off the funding mechanism, the subsidies, the requirement to purchase, but keep all the insurance mandate regulations, the coverage regulations. Things could be even worse. Republicans are always say we're scared to do the right thing because we're going to get blamed. They're going to get blamed even worse if they don't fully repeal it.
You know, this was a fear that I talked about on this program some months ago because they've had all this time to come up with a plan that they should have had on the shelf to institute it. Whatever happened to competition across state borders? Whatever happened to all kinds of insurance companies tailoring plans for different needs? You know, comprehensive care that covers everything soup to nuts, catastrophic care, all these other things. Why is it that only when it comes to something like toasters do we embrace competition and capitalism, and when it comes to the big issues, we abandon it?
That's exactly the point. They need to tear down the Berlin Wall of regulations. They need to allow any insurance company to cover any type of plan for anyone under any circumstance, and at the same time say, we're not going to subsidize you, but we're not going to regulate you. That's how you have a free market. Then you'll start seeing, if they were to do that now, insurance companies need to submit their 2017 plans, or 2018 plans beginning in May, June, kind of the middle of the year. You would see prices tumble. The American people would get a flavor of what a post-Obamacare world would look like. What they plan on doing now is the same old or even worse.
Why do Republicans abandon Reaganism? And why do they abandon Thatcherism? I mean, Thatcher had a much tougher go than these guys did. You know, with the government unions, the private sector unions, the nationalized industries, and she said, the hell with this, and she unraveled all that. Why is it that Republicans get so nervous and concerned and maybe it's because they're not conservative?
You know, Mark, you can't fight if you don't believe. And that's ultimately what it is. They don't fully believe in free markets, or they at least don't understand it, so they're certainly not willing to fight for it, even on issues that are winning issues. I mean, most people want Obamacare gone. They don't understand this split the baby policy of getting rid of some of it but not the heart and soul of it. So anyway, this is where things stand now, and like I said, a lot of this is no longer speculation. The budget resolution that was introduced today, that there's much hype surrounding it, it actually retains a tremendous amount of revenue to be used for a future massive entitlement.
The budget resolution contains 2 reserve funds designed to preserve savings from the repeal, which can later be used to offset the cost of replacement legislation. So you're right. In other words, they'll talk about repeal. They're not getting rid of this monster. That's the bottom line. They're gonna embrace at least parts of this monster.
Exactly. I mean, it's like these fights over amnesty where they'll call it something else but do the same thing. It's amnesty. It looks like amnesty. It quacks like it. And in this case, when it comes to Obamacare, I mean, yeah, the entire purpose of the budget reconciliation process is to cut the budget. Ironically, they're capturing the savings, and instead of using it for deficit reduction, they're using it to replace Obamacare with Obamacare.
Yeah, here it is, the Hill that you sent me. People who are familiar with the GOP leaders' thinking said some major changes are under consideration, including retaining some of the taxes in the health care law, including the so-called Cadillac tax, as you pointed out. So, you know, people are going to make, whoa, you know, you get 80%. Looks like you get 15% here. You don't get...
I mean, this is 10-15%.
Mm-hmm. All right, Daniel Horowitz, Conservative Review. I know you'll be writing this up tomorrow. We look forward to it. Thank you for alerting me to this.
Thanks so much for spreading the message.
All right, take care. Jeez, I tell you, these people are just unbelievable.